Hello and welcome to Nikolai's Genetics Lessons, and today I have prepared two multiple choice questions for you. As usual, I recommend you to pause video here, try to choose the correct answer on your own first, and when you would be ready you can run video again and you can compare your answers with my answers and explanations. So here's the first question. Which of the following incorrectly identifies the mode of inheritance for the given genetic disease? And here's four answers to choose from. Answer A, Tay-Sachs disease, recessive, and this is true. This disease is recessive, and especially it can be found in high frequencies in a group of people of East European Jewish descent. Why? Probably because when Jews run out of their own country and settle down in Europe, small group were established in every country. So this high frequencies of this occurrence of this genetic disorder can be explained by founder effect, and another explanation can be because local populations didn't want to inbreed with Jewish population, and Jewish population also didn't want to outcross with local population for religious reasons. We may have inbreeding here, and this explains of high occurrence of this genetic disorder among this population, where every person out of 30 is a carrier. If 1 out of every 30 males is a carrier, if 1 out of 30 females is a carrier, and 2 carriers has 1/4 chances to have affected child, and when we multiply all these probabilities, we can find probability in this group of people that they would have affected child, which is going to be 1 out of 3,600 live births. This is expected ratio. But for example, if we take Jews that live in Canada, occurrence of this genetic disorder in heterozygous state would be 1 out of 250, and in the people of different descent, even numbers would be even much smaller. So this genetic disorder is recessive and caused by HEX-A gene and a defective enzyme. So a person have to have 2 defective enzymes to show up this genetic disorder. So answer B, cystic fibrosis, recessive, and this is also true. In order to express this genetic disorder phenotypically, the person have to have 2 defective alleles, and this genetic disorder usually show up early in the childhood, and many internal organs would suffer, such as lungs, liver, kidneys, and intestine. People with this genetic disorder just 20-30 years ago, average life expectancy were about 40 years. Nowadays, with more advanced medicine, the life expectancy increased greatly. So next answer, Huntington disease dominant, and this is also true. What is interesting about this genetic disorder, that until you would be 30 or in your 40s, you wouldn't see any changes in your organism, but then this is neurodegenerative disorder. So later, hands of such a person may start shaking, and cognitive abilities of the person also would decline. So now we have different genetic tests available, and any person can take such a test and find out if he has this dominant allele or not. And another ethical issue arises if you need to know this information or if you don't need to know. Maybe you can live happy life without knowing that you have this very bad genetic disorder. Or on the other hand, if you would know that you can have this genetic disorder early in your life, you probably can change your life, enjoy your life more, do more things, knowing that you don't have much time left. And now, as you already guessed, sickle cell, answer D, sickle cell dominant. This is not true. This is going to be our choice because we asked to find which of the following incorrectly identifies the mode of inheritance. And sickle cell is a recessive genetic disorder. And what interesting about this genetic disorder, that people who are carriers, whose genotype is one normal allele, another recessive allele, may survive malaria if they would be infected with malaria better than people who has two normal alleles, and of course better survival rate if we compare person who is going to be homozygous for this genetic disorder, because this person would be very seriously sick. So if we compare person who is normal for both alleles and who is heterozygous, here we can say that this is going to be heterozygous advantage, because in the equatorial countries, to be heterozygous for this condition, genetic condition, would be advantage. Next question, you have to choose the correct answer. Rule of probability is useful in calculating the risk that certain individuals will inherit a particular genotype, and the correct answer would be product rule. We use product rule in order to find probability that some person can be a carrier or can be affected by multiplying probabilities of his direct ancestors to be carriers, for example, for certain genetic disorder, and we add independent probabilities or use sum rule when the question would be, for example, what is the probability in a family with two children to have children of the same gender. So there are two variants, boy, boy, and a girl and a girl. To have a first child, a boy, would be 1/2. To have a second child also to be a boy would be 1/2. So probability of such an event would be 1/4. And also probability to have the first child a girl would be 1/2. Probability to have second child a girl also would be 1/2. And probability of such an event would be 1/4. So as you see, these two variants satisfy our question, what is the probability in a family with two children to have children of the same gender. So we have to add these two probabilities. So the answer to such question would be, we have to add 1/4 plus 1/4. So probability of such an event would be 1/2. So when we calculate probabilities and we can connect independent probabilities with the word and, what is the probability that the first child would be a boy and a second child would be a boy, so we have to use product rule. And when we calculate probabilities and in order to find an answer we can connect probabilities with the word or. For example, what is the probability that first two children would be boys or first two children would be girls. These two probabilities cannot happen simultaneously. If a family have two boys, then family cannot have two girls at the same moment, and vice versa. If family has two girls in family with two children, they cannot have another two boys. So or. So in this case we have to add this probabilities and use sum rule. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. And see you in the next video. Goodbye.